Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose on Noogaradio.com as well. Make sure to check us out on Noogaradio.com. That way you'll be connected to all of our social media. Right? You got to be connected to all of our social media, our Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube. We stream all of our local shows live on YouTube. If you want to see what the inside of our studio looks like and how that goes, go to Noogaradio.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the page. So I like to listen to a lot of NFL news around this time of year. We are 69 days away from the beginning of the NFL season. 57 days away from college football. I sound and I feel like some kind of drug addict, some kind of junkie, as I explain. I give a countdown like every day. It feels like, oh, how many days we have left until the college football season? How many days do we have left until the NFL season? And they say a watch pot never boils, et cetera, et cetera. Like I shouldn't be counting it down, but I can't help it. Okay, I can't help it. This is where I am. I am ready for football to be back in the worst kind of way. So I was looking around at NFL news because as we get closer to the NFL season, we start to see a lot of the news pop up. And I was listening to Pro Football Talk and with Mike Florio, and Ben Volen was on Mike Florio's show. Ben Volen, a Patriots insider for the Boston Globe. And he was talking about the teams in the AFC that scared him, because you look at the Patriots, and I don't think it is an unreasonable expectation to say the New England Patriots are going to be back in the Super Bowl again. In all likelihood, it is highly likely. They are an incredible football team. They haven't gotten any worse from last year. They are so good. Brady is so good, and they have managed to keep that team together again. It's hard to reason that somebody else can come in there and knock the Patriots off. Well, Ben Volen was talking about the teams that scared him as a guy that covers the Patriots. If you're the Patriots, who do you worry about? And it was interesting because who he chose shocked me a little bit. He said the teams that he worries about are the Raiders and the Titans. That's right. Your Tennessee Titans scare the Patriots. And I thought that was crazy. But Mike Florio said, well, this is, and the reasoning behind it to me is not a ridiculous reason, right? Here's the reason. Teams that just show up in the NFL playoffs, and we've seen this happen time and time again, teams that show up in the NFL playoffs that haven't been in the playoffs in a while, they're not buying into the narrative that they're not supposed to win. They don't understand how this goes. They don't know that they're supposed to lose. And they, how do I put it? Like they don't have the fear of losing to the Patriots over and over and over and over again for them to feel scared of the Patriots. The same way that the Steelers would look at the Patriots, and the Steelers, the gap between the Patriots and the Steelers is incredibly wide. And the Steelers know to be afraid of the Patriots. So when you take into account the fact that the Titans don't feel scared, right? They would not feel scared were they to play the Patriots in an NFL playoff game, because they're just here, right? Like, we've just got a job to do. It's when you lose over and over and over again that you get this little image in your mind, and you've got the monkey on your back. And every year that you lose to the Patriots, the monkey gets a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier. The Titans wouldn't have all of that. My thing is, I was a little shocked that we just somehow penciled the Titans all the way into the playoffs, right? And I was not aware that that was a thing that you could do. Which got me thinking about expectations, reasonable expectations. Should we not reel in our expectations of the Tennessee Titans just a little bit? Because I could tell you with relative certainty, I think the Titans make the playoffs. I don't know if that's as a wild card. I don't know if that's as a division winner. It could be either one, and they've got a really good chance of winning the division. I could even promise you that, because the Colts are so up and down. Yes, they've got luck. No, they don't really have anything else. And the Jags are bad. And who knows what to expect from the Texans? Can you really expect Bill O'Brien to go to the playoffs again with Tom Savage? Because I don't think Deshaun Watson is ready. And I don't care what news I'm hearing out of the camp that they've got. I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be ready next year. I think it's smart to hold on to him, let him develop. Don't rely on him too much. Let him digest this offense and learn how to process the information and regurgitate it. I think that that's the year that Deshaun Watson ought to be having. I don't think you can rely on him yet. And I don't know how much you can believe in Tom Savage. He was fine when he played, but he's Tom Savage. I don't know what to tell you. He's not a world beater. He's not turning the world upside down. That's a very winnable division for the Titans, who play the, as it's known, exotic smash mouth of Mike Mularkey, where Mularkey is basically saying, look, we are going to play north-south football, but we understand that we have a guy in Marcus Mariota who can allow us to have a few options in terms of read option and give us a few extra looks that maybe you don't get to have if your quarterback is not named Marcus Mariota, a.k.a. the fastest quarterback in the league at this moment. So I get it. I just don't know if I can 100% pencil the Titans in. But I will say that exotic smash mouth does give people trouble. Like, it's unfamiliar enough, and it's just wonky enough that nobody really knows what to do with it, right? Like, the Jags are capable of hanging around with it. The Texans are capable of beating it. The Colts are capable of beating it, but that's the teams in your division. Like, the teams in your division always know what to do with you. It's all the other teams in the league that don't seem to understand. I can tell you with reasonable certainty that it's not an unfair expectation to have the Tennessee Titans in the NFL playoffs. In fact, it's not an unreal expectation to have them winning the division. A lot of people do expect them to do well next year, and I think that to the point where it's going to be tough to live up to the hype, because I think everybody wants the Titans to have this effect of being this sleeper team so that everybody can go, yeah, I told you the Titans were good. Yeah, those Tennessee Titans, I told you about them. I think everybody wants to invest in the Titans before they get big, and especially a lot of NFL insiders. But I can't say that that's a reasonable expectation that the Titans are going to show up and give the Patriots fits in the playoffs. That I don't understand. Nor do I necessarily want to just straight up pencil the Titans in for a playoff appointment. Look, I expect them to be good. I expect them to be solid, but that's their ceiling, right? Like, the playoffs, that's a ceiling. That's a reasonable ceiling. What's a reasonable floor for the Titans? If I told you that the Titans went out there and they were 8-8 and they missed the playoffs, right? Andrew Luck returns to form, stays healthy all year, Colts win the division. Are you surprised? Because I'm not. We expect great things from this team, but I don't know that at 8-8, I'm shocked that the Titans weren't better. Right? Like, there's still a building team. I'm not going to be floored by the concept that the Titans weren't great, especially since a couple of things need to happen. I really want to see the Titans secondary step up and make some plays, which, you drafted Dory Jackson. They're working on it. But another thing that needs to happen is Marcus Mariota's got to finish an entire season. Like, the playoff appointment that you're penciling in doesn't even mean anything if Mariota is gone by week 15. And we saw what happened to the Raiders last year. The Raiders were steamrolling a lot of teams. Their offensive output is alarming. But then Derek Carr gets injured near the end of the season, I think week 15 for him, and the Raiders show up to the playoffs with no quarterback, right? They show up with Pat McGloin. And I suppose McGloin did well for as what you would expect from a rookie that you just tossed into a playoff game. But he got his behind whooped by a superior defensive unit because he wasn't ready. If you don't have Mariota healthy, I mean, this whole thing goes down the tubes anyway. And I have yet to see a full healthy Mariota season. And it's not even Mariota's fault. Like, it's not necessarily one of those things where, oh, Mariota's a running quarterback, so he's going to be a guy that doesn't know how to protect himself and stay safe. Marcus Mariota has been injured both times in the pocket, behind one of the best offensive lines in football. So it's just a matter of durability, and it is really just a matter of getting rid of the football quickly enough and not taking those unnecessary shots. Like, a reasonable floor for the Titans is like 8-8, and a reasonable ceiling is, 10-6, win the division playoffs. I mean, that's reasonable, but I have to see it first. And maybe it's just I haven't seen that team be successful in that way. And so that's why I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around it. But I legitimately have to see it first to believe it. Right? It's one thing to jump from what's a reasonable expectation for this team. It's one thing to jump from that and then go to, they're going to be in the playoffs. And you know what? They can give the Patriots fits. And I think that a little bit of this is Ben Volen, the writer for the Boston Globe who covers the Patriots. A little bit of this is like you worry about stuff all the time, right? The Greek myth about the sword of Damocles is probably a great example of this. In the Greek myth, there was a king, and he had an advisor who also wanted to know what it was like to be king. So the king said, hey, I'll let you be king for a day. And the advisor was like, awesome. And so he put the advisor on the throne, gave the advisor the crown, but then he hung a sword above the advisor's head by a rope and just had it sit there all day. And the advisor could not enjoy being king for a day because he had a sword sitting over his head. Right? Why? Because basically that's what it's like to be the king. You are always worrying about something. That's what it's like to be the Patriots. You are always worrying about something. Even if that thing is not necessarily a valid threat, even if the thing does not make any sense to worry about, you are always worrying about something. And the Patriots are always worrying about something. And if you are a Patriots fan or a Patriots supporter, everything that's not you scares you. Right? Like, while most people would not be afraid of running into the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs, Patriots fans are. Why? Because they've never really seen it before, and it's a thing that worries them. Like, if they were to run into the Titans in the playoffs and absolutely punch the Titans to smithereens, then they would never be worried about that team ever again. But it's the fact that they've never seen it. Right? Like, never seen this exotic smash mouth, which to me is just power football with a read option twist. But okay. I mean, it's not complicated. But the unfamiliarity of it and the fact that it does seem to wrinkle some people, right? Like, the Packers could not stop it last year at all. Did not have any answers for Marcus Mariota marching down the field seemingly at will. So I understand that it bothers you if you don't see it very often, but it is kind of insane to somehow suggest that the Patriots should actually be afraid of the Titans. That's where I get to the point where I'm like, these expectations have gone too far. It's time to reel them in. It's time to reel them in. Like, this isn't even Titans fans being unrealistic. As I've known Titans fans, they tend to actually be fairly pragmatic. This is a guy who covers the Patriots going, yeah, I could see the Titans giving us fits in the postseason. And I'm like, postseason? I would like to see us get there first. I would like to see that actually happen. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Other expectations that need to be reeled in. This Conor McGregor thing is insane. Because, okay, so I yesterday went on a gigantic tirade of a rant about how this is not a fight worth watching or even paying attention to, because Conor McGregor is going to step into that boxing ring and get killed in there, in large part because he is not a boxer. And nothing proves this more than the two Instagram posts that came out yesterday, right? Floyd put out an Instagram post of his training, him on that double-ended speed bag, which requires a lot of reflexes and a lot of speed to successfully basically train on that bag without getting hit in the face frequently. And Floyd was tearing it up, and he looked fast, and the hands looked fast, and the reflexes and the head movement looked good. Yeah. And I saw that, and I mentioned yesterday that Conor McGregor's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble because Floyd looks fast, and Conor's not that fast. with his hands. Like that's not what they ask you to do in mixed martial arts. Hand speed is not necessary in a sport where you can be choked out, right? Like strength is necessary, striking ability is necessary. Hand speed's not that important. In a sport where you can be knocked out by a roundhouse kick, hand speed's not as important, right? Which I understand entirely. And you've got to defend against all kinds of things. It's just not. Yeah, but it is important in boxing. It is very important in boxing, which is the next Instagram post that we saw, which is Conor McGregor releasing some video of his own training. The post read, "You've never seen moves like these," and Conor looks slow. He looked slow. It looked bad. It looked like a struggle. And in fact, I have seen moves like those on a high school playground when a fight breaks out there. I have seen those. Like, what do you mean I've never seen moves like those? And even if I had never seen moves like those, I've seen them now as you have slowly done them. And I don't know if this is some gamesmanship, like maybe Conor's got like a real thing that he's going to or not even release. He's just got a real training regimen that he's not going to show anybody, and we're just going to look at him and go, "Oh, look, he looks bad." Maybe sucker Floyd into a false sense of security. But Conor McGregor cannot think that actually looks intimidating. The training video that he put out of him slowly bobbing around this speed bag and slowly circling around this heavy bag, he cannot possibly think that is an intimidating tactic. He doesn't look scary. It doesn't look sharp or crisp at all. And this is the sport where you need sharpness and crispness the most. I mean, the absolute most. No other sport do you need it more than this sport. And he looks slow. Right? And I understand that there's a certain level of irony of me watching the news and going, yeah, Instagram. I just got news from a couple of Instagram posts, but this is the world that we live in. You know I hate social media. You know I hate social media so much. I got my news from a couple of Instagram posts, but one fighter looks good, the other fighter looks terrible, and it's exactly in the manner in which you would have expected. The fighter that is fighting in his sport looks good. The fighter that is not fighting in his sport looks terrible, and the video looks slow. And this is a problem. This is a gigantic problem, because if your goal is to sell this fight as, okay, Conor looks scary and Conor looks strong, then it might be incumbent upon Conor McGregor to actually look both scary and strong in his own video promoting his own fight. He looks like neither of those things, and he's in a lot of trouble. We're going to have to reel that one in. Reasonable expectation for Conor McGregor in this fight. He goes the distance. I do think that he's not going to get knocked out. Like, Floyd doesn't knock people out. And I certainly don't think that Floyd's ever going to open up enough to take the risk necessary to generate the power to knock out Conor. Floyd's fine with a decision. He's fine with a decision. I just don't understand how anybody thinks that Conor can win. That's a different question entirely. But anywho, another thing that we can kind of upgrade a little bit, Tim Tebow in baseball. I'm not going to reel in any expectations because, like, we know what our realistic expectations are of Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow's not making any major league roster, unless it actually turns out that the New York Mets are run by a bunch of chimpanzees, which is also possible that the Mets are run by a bunch of chimpanzees, given in recent years the amount of moves that they've made and the trouble that they've had basically being a competent organization after looking like a baseball team that was going to be on our radars for years. Like, it looked like the Mets were going to be near the top of the NL East forever. It was going to be them and the Nationals fighting for always, and that the Mets would contend for World Series titles, because I remember, they went and they played the Royals in the World Series and just got taken apart by the most unconventional baseball we've ever seen. But it looked like, okay, the Mets are going to be back. And in the playoffs, a couple of years ago, it was the Mets and it was the Cubs, and it looked like the Mets and the Cubs are going to run this for a while. And now the Mets look like they're falling to pieces. You might actually need to make some kind of a splash with Tim Tebow, if anything. But Tim Tebow passed Michael Jordan on the all-time home run list. So Tebow, people are comparing this to the Jordan campaign of, well, stay in your lane, don't play baseball if you can't play baseball. But Tim Tebow is at least already better at baseball than Michael Jordan ever was. So there's that, I guess. Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Two Saudi Daisy parents, Dustin and Stacy Talent, who are facing charges of child neglect, are now facing even more charges of aggravated animal cruelty. Saudi Daisy police reported in an affidavit that the house was full of clutter, human and animal waste, and even dead animals. The police affidavit also stated that the children were said to have been scratching at the walls and smearing waste on the walls. Those two children have been seized from their parents. Chattanooga heroin peddler Jarius Jermaine Blakemore has been facing a sentence of 23 years in prison. Blakemore is accused of selling a gram of heroin to Jessica Rachels for $200, who then overdosed just hours later in the bathroom floor of a house in Red Bank. If you live in Walker County, watch out. A routine inspection of the Walker County water treatment plant resulted in positive E. coli samples. You are now being asked to boil your water if you live in Walker County and you're a customer of that service. Gas prices look good for now, but on the 1st, a new gas tax will come into effect and they'll go back up by 4 cents. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any showers will diminish through your nighttime hours. Muggy overnight again. Could see some more late fog as well. Lows of around 70. For Wednesday, a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms. Very warm and humid, highs mid and upper 80s. A more typical summer weather returning for Sunday. Are you hungry? Stop into KFC today for an extra crispy $20 fill-up. It's freshly double-breaded crunch, laughs in the face of quieter foods. That's KFC. It's finger-licking good. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area. Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I like to compare the SEC East to the Eastern Conference of the NBA because the parallels are so uncanny that it's alarming, right? You've got the SEC and you've got the NBA. One conference is clearly stronger. The other conference is clearly weaker. And the fact of the matter is that they both happen to be the West and the East, the West being the stronger in both, the East being the weaker in both. And you win the East and you don't even feel good about winning the East. That there is something of a caveat there. Like, we've actually had conversations of why don't we just get rid of the divisions in the SEC, because all of the better teams are clearly in the West. Now, here's the difference between the NBA and college football, which is that in the NBA, players can just get up and leave one conference and go to the other conference. Paul George is looking for LA. He is looking to be a Los Angeles Laker in the worst kind of way. And I got to tell you, I don't know why. I understand he's from Los Angeles, but people have not played for their home cities before. Right? They've managed not to do this in their hometowns previously. So I don't necessarily understand why he wants LA so bad. But anyway, he's an LA boy. That's where he's from. He wants to go back, and he's told everybody that's where he's going. That's why it's making it impossible for the Pacers to trade him for like anything at all, right? Which just not to go down a side tangent, this is why I bristle at the idea that Paul George did the Pacers a favor by releasing and announcing to the world that he was not coming back to Indiana. No, he's not doing them a favor. Now he's taken his trade value, which hypothetically could have been something, and reduced it to absolutely nothing at all, because everybody knows, oh, this guy's trying to go to Los Angeles. I'm not going to try and gut my roster for a guy that's going to leave. No one's about to get hoodwinked in a trade with the Pacers. You know exactly what the score is. Well, except for the Wizards. The Wizards are the one team that actually could manage to be hoodwinked in a trade with the Pacers. But regardless, that's a story for another day. That makes me depressed to talk about. The point is, a player can just get up from one conference and go to the other conference, leaving the Eastern Conference in this case with like no stars. Who would be in the East after Paul George left? Because we can talk about how Paul George ain't a real superstar. Like, Paul George ought to be a second banana on your team. He should not be in any uncertain terms, the best player on your team, which I get. You want Paul George to be a second banana, just statistically speaking. If you get that kind of output from your second best player, you're great. You're crazy good. But I will take Paul George as a star before I lose him to the Western Conference. The Western Conference, by the way, these are the stars in the Western Conference, and I might be leaving out people because there's a lot of people. The young Karl Anthony Towns is there. Anthony Davis, is there. Kawhi Leonard is there. Russell Westbrook is there. James Harden is there. Chris Paul is there. Blake Griffin is there. Am I missing anybody? Damian Lillard is there. Steph Curry is there. Kevin Durant is there. Klay Thompson is there. Just the Warriors. I can just say the Warriors and like not have to name everyone. That conference is loaded with stars. Who's in the East? Who's in the East? You've got John Wall. You've got the young Kristaps Porzingis. You've got Isaiah Thomas. And the list kind of gets really scarce after that. You've got LeBron. That's it. Like, that's the list. It's LeBron, Wall, Thomas, Kristaps, maybe. Who else is there in the East as a star? Right? Like, Dwayne Wade is a shell of his former self. Dwayne Wade is not a star anymore. Was a star, is not a star at this moment. I mean, who do you got? Who do you have? Jimmy Butler's out west now. Right? Even if you were to get Gordon Hayward to the Celtics, like, the balance is so awkwardly tipped. It's like if you could somehow take players from SEC East teams and move them over to the West. Right? Like, we know the West is stronger than the East. And then still somehow, if you could just take like Jake Bentley from South Carolina and move him to the West. Like that would be what that would be like, right? Like a division already inferior is capable of somehow being made more inferior. And I don't know that if we've ever reached a point in the history of a sport where we might have to consider how we restructure the playoff picture. Because everybody wants to be out west. Nobody wants to be in the East. And it's going to affect the playoffs because you're going to have 8 teams in the Eastern Conference. One team's going to make the playoffs because they have LeBron. And then the other 7 are going to be some mixture of the remaining stars that can't win a title. Which is crazy. So a lot of this has to do with the non-stars in the Eastern Conference that we consider to be stars, right? Like Carmelo Anthony is still vaguely considered to be a star. Like if you had an all-star voting, people would vote Carmelo Anthony, and Carmelo Anthony made last year's all-star game and had no business being anywhere near it. Bradley Beal should have gotten in. But he's still vaguely considered to be a star. Dwayne Wade is still vaguely considered to be a star. Kyle Lowry, even though you can't trust him, is still vaguely considered to be a star. And at what point do we realize like the West is too much stronger than the East? You've got teams in the Western Conference that are not going to get a playoff spot that would deserve it and would absolutely be a high seed in the Eastern Conference. And I've never been an Eastern Conference imbalance guy. Like I was one of those guys that I always believed that the Eastern Conference, the gap between the East and the West was always over accentuated. I've believed that forever. But if you lose Paul George to the Western Conference after losing Jimmy Butler, let me tell you something. That gap is real. That gap is no longer deniable by anybody, not even me. And I don't know what you do with all of that. I don't know what you do with all of that. And there are teams that are trying to keep Paul George. They're trying to get him. The teams in the Eastern Conference who know that this will be a one-year rental. If you go out there and you get Paul George, it's a one-year deal. Right? Like this is a known one-year rental because he's expressed his desire to go to LA. And so your idea is, you know what? We're going to compete for a title. Our structure and our culture of winning is going to be so good and so strong. He's going to come here and he ain't going to want to leave, which might be true, right? Because like part of the reason why Paul George was not happy in Indiana was they weren't winning anything. I mean, he's the best player on the team, but he's the best player on the team by too far a gap. Because I'm not one of these people that actually believes that Paul George has to be a second banana. He doesn't. But Paul George can't be the best player on your team by that big a gap. He's not the guy that drags nobodies to the conference finals. He's not that level of talent, but he is really, really good. The second star on that team, if your star is Paul George, needs to be almost right in the same class of star with him. And I guess if you're the Wizards and you're going to say, hey, look, we're going to compete for an Eastern Conference title, maybe even make it to the finals and be the sacrificial lamb for the Warriors, then fine. That too is also possible. But I don't know if you're the Wizards or the Celtics, you can really hold on to this guy. If he's that hell-bent on going to LA, and look, I've been to Los Angeles. It's a nice place. It's sunny. It's happy all the time, and it's warm year-round. I can understand why you would want to do that. Like, I can understand why you would want to go to Los Angeles and stay there. As long as this is not about branding, because you can be a brand without Los Angeles. And this is not about winning, because if you wanted to win, you would go anywhere but Los Angeles. And the Lakers are highly unmotivated to trade anything for Paul George, as does everybody else. It's just made this a weird conundrum. And these young stars in the NBA, they better mature quick, or the Eastern Conference isn't going to have stars. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Little game show news, by the way. They brought back the Pyramid Show. They're bringing back all of these shows on TV. The Gong Show's coming back, and the Gong Show's super weird. I don't understand the purpose of that show. And I never watched the original Gong Show. So you need to understand that the concept of the Gong Show to me now is particularly confusing. And I don't know if they know how to market the Gong Show, because you do realize that a lot of the people watching TV now didn't grow up with the original Gong Show. What is the purpose of the show? What are you driving at? It's an odd show. The commercials for it make no sense and do not explain on any level why I should be using any time that I have watching the Gong Show at all. Why are they bringing the show back? They brought back the Pyramid. At least to me, that's a show that makes sense, right? Like, you can understand why people like the Pyramid Show, because if you've ever played board games with your family, you know, the game where, was it Categories? I forget the game. I'm not a board game person like that. I like board games, but I don't know all their names. The one where you have to like describe a word without saying what the word is. Yeah, it's that game, but it's a random person and a celebrity. And last night there was Aaron Rodgers. Was it last night? It was a couple nights ago. Aaron Rodgers versus Aaron Andrews. And Aaron Rodgers won some lady $100,000 because he was better. He was better at describing things than Aaron Andrews, which is alarming to me because Aaron Rodgers always struck me as a guy of few words, but also Aaron Andrews is a journalist. Look, your job is words. How are you bad at a show, at a game show where they let you describe words with more words? You are a media personality. You're a TV reporter. Your job is words. Your job is literally describing stuff. How are you bad at this? Aaron Andrews couldn't get it done, and I have no idea. And there was one part where she had to do, I think the word that she was trying to describe was tambourine. And she mixed up the word tambourine and trampoline and described the wrong word. And I don't know how that's even possible. I don't know how that even works. Hey, Mr. Trampoline Man? Aaron Andrews. What is she doing? Oh, man. You can't lose to an NFL quarterback in a game that is essentially an extension of your job. Right? Like if you were a construction worker and I challenged you as a construction worker to a bench press contest, like there is some level of, well, maybe I could win, but probably not, because if a part of your job is lifting heavy stuff all day, then you should be pretty good at lifting other heavy stuff. Right? Like, I don't expect Aaron Andrews to beat Aaron Rodgers in a football throwing contest. Like, oh, how far can you throw this? Or how accurately can you throw this? Aaron Rodgers ought to win. But in a describing contest, in a contest where you use words to describe other words, yes, I would journalist here normally, but you can't. You absolutely can't. Can't trust Aaron Rodgers on that. Or Aaron Andrews, rather. So I don't know what you do there. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So there's rumors. There's rumors in the streets that John Calipari could potentially be the head coach of Team USA basketball, which is pretty cool. But also, is that a recruiting advantage that we want to give John Calipari? Because it doesn't seem like he struggles to recruit as is. Is that something we want to give Cal? Because, man, if anybody could take Team USA basketball coach and work it into we're going to recruit really well, it's that guy. And by the way, John Calipari, whose strength is not necessarily X's and O's at a very high basketball level, because, I mean, you say a guy's strength is not X's and O's and like realize that he knows more than you, right? John Calipari knows more than I know. When I say your strength is not X's and O's, I mean, like, you don't seem to be outwitting the other coaches that you coach against. I know he knows more than me, but his strength does not appear to be X's and O's. Team USA basketball is perfect because you just have all the best athletes in the world. You've got the superior athletes. You just have to get those guys to play together and to play some level of defense. That's it. Right? Like, you don't necessarily need to be drawing up schemes and inbound plays. Like, nothing needs to be that complicated. If your team is going to be a basketball team that's got, the Warriors, basically, and then some other guys in the NBA, then what do you really need to design this crazy team for? That being said, it would be nice to actually see some of the older Kentucky guys play for Team USA basketball, guys that I think should have been on that team before, right? Like Anthony Davis is always going to be there. Boogie Cousins is a guy that's going to get invited, but I always wanted to see like John Wall be on Team USA basketball, and I felt like we were never going to see that because there are just so many good guards in the league. Like, who do you leave off? I mean, you can't leave off Kyrie and you can't leave off Steph now, and Steph didn't even really get the considerations for the team the last time around that he should have gotten because we didn't know that Steph was a monster like this. John Calipari just has to get those guys to play together and get those guys to play defense, which I will probably feel comfortable saying, yeah, John Calipari does that already. John Calipari's job is already get a bunch of super talented guys to buy into you, to play defense, to play together, and to win games. Like, that's already John Calipari's deal. He already does that very well. It would be something of an obvious choice for him to be the head coach of Team USA basketball. It would be something of an obvious choice for that, I think. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. But yeah, I just to go back to the previous point, all these TV shows that are being revived, I understand that modern day television, we have no new ideas. We just keep bringing back stuff over and over and over again. I'm not pleased with the state of like game shows on TV. We're not good at figuring this out, and I feel like we just have to say, like the Western, the game show has run its course, and that maybe people do not like to sit down and watch game shows anymore, right? Like there's going to be a time in the future where people don't want to watch these talent shows. You know, they're not going to want to watch the America's Got Talents and all of that stuff anymore. And then you're just going to have to let go of it and say, you know what, this is what it was. It was a nice little run. I'm glad that we got to make this happen, but it's not happening anymore. Like we just have to say goodbye to game shows. And I don't think that that's an unfair assertion. We don't want game shows anymore, okay? Like we barely want Family Feud, but Family Feud is such a basic idea that it's on all the time. Family Feud's had reruns. The reruns are so prevalent. You didn't know when Family Feud was ever off the air. When did they stop Family Feud? How can Family Feud come back if Family Feud never left? You know what I mean? So I saw the Gong Show and I was like, what is this? And I looked it up and it was apparently there was an older Gong Show. And that show was weird too. There are just some ideas like maybe we should just let them go. You know, let them be what they are right off into the sunset and never bring them back again. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jet's Pizza at Bilo near the S-Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484. Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy Word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian. This Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
Gunfire and casualties at a New York City hospital.
A real tragedy here in the Bronx this afternoon.
The feds take on violent criminals in Chicago.
It will not be business as usual.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. He was a doctor who used to work at Bronx Lebanon Hospital in New York City. Henry Ballo wore a white lab coat and had a rifle concealed underneath when he showed up there this afternoon. Shots were fired. The hospital was locked down. This patient says,
I was in my room looking at TV, and all they said, COVID, shut the doors, don't come out your room. We didn't know what was going on. We got scared. They said it was somebody in the hospital that had a rifle.
Gary Trimble's fiance spoke to him on the phone while she barricaded herself in a room.
I told him to just lay low and just be quiet and don't say nothing until a police officer escorts you out.
When the gunfire ended, one person was dead, 6 others wounded. New York Police Commissioner James O'Neill at a briefing a short time ago said when they got to the 17th floor of the hospital,
officers encountered the male suspect lying on the floor, dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Officials say the suspect had been fired for harassing a hospital employee. When that employee was nowhere to be found today, Henry Bello began firing. When the year was half over, the total, 333 murders in 2017 in Chicago. Deputy Police Superintendent Kevin Navarro says the feds are coming to help.
Today, we're announcing a new joint strike force with the ATF that focuses on removing illegal guns from our city and targeting prosecution of repeat violent offenders.
Senior legal analyst Andrew Cohen, what's one factor for so much Chicago gun violence?
Because of a pipeline of guns coming into the state from neighboring Indiana, Mike Pence's home state. So watch for federal prosecutors there to try to bring more cases as a way to keep more guns off the street.
They're still hunting for a red pickup in Chester County, Pennsylvania, where KYW's Jim Melwert says a couple days ago there was a road rage incident.
It happened on a busy suburban Philadelphia highway. 2 cars jockeying over a merge. West Goshen Police Chief Joseph Gleason
Gleason says the driver of a faded red pickup pulled a gun and shot the other driver in the head.
He took a beautiful young lady of 18 years of age in the prime of her life.
Bianca Roberson, who just graduated high school, planning to attend Jacksonville University in the fall. The composite sketch is out as investigators say they've received hundreds of tips from
all corners of the country, to be honest with you.
Jim Melwart, CBS News, Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Somebody was looking out for this pilot who Steve Futterman says took off from John Wayne Airport this morning in Southern California.
Almost immediately after takeoff, there were problems.
I lost my right engine.
The pilot of the small Cessna plane could not make it back to the airport.
Mayday.
The only option, try to land on a nearby freeway. It was a rough landing. Fire broke out. 2 people on board the aircraft survived. As for those driving on the freeway,
fortunately, it hit mainly just the back end of this vehicle.
Remarkably, there were no major injuries.
The Dow rose 62. Now this.
With Quicken Loans, the outdated and complicated mortgage process is a thing of the past. Our simple process helps you understand all the details so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage. Take your mortgage to the next level and call 800-QUICKEN or go completely online with Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. No matter how you prefer to work with us, we've got what you need to get you through the mortgage process with ease. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Whether you're looking to purchase or refinance, now is the time. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.23%. Call 800-QUICKEN or get started online at rocketmortgage.com. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Grandparents are still not an allowable link for those wanting to be exempt from the Trump travel ban, but now the government says if you've got a fiance over here, you can join him or her. Heading home, heading out, wave to that guy next to you in traffic. You're both dealing with getaway day for the 4th of July weekend.
The first family car trip, yes. So we've been dreading it all week, but so far it's been really great.
I had taken Friday and Monday off. Got a 5-day weekend and decided let's do something with it.
I'm Peter King in Orlando. 44.2 million Americans are expected to fly, drive, or otherwise travel 50 miles or more from home this holiday weekend. AAA says you can thank a better economy for that. And where is the #1 travel destination? It's right here, Central Florida, because of new attractions at both Universal and Walt Disney World. The theme parks are expected to be absolutely packed this holiday weekend.
You're listening to the CBS World News.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news. Now,
2 Saudi Daisy parents, Dustin and Stacy Talent, who are facing charges of child neglect, are now facing even more charges of aggravated animal cruelty. Saudi Daisy police reported in an affidavit that the house was full of clutter, human and animal waste, and even dead animals. The police affidavit also stated that the children were said to have been scratching at the walls and smearing waste on the walls. Those 2 children have been seized from their parents. Chattanooga heroin peddler Jarius Jermaine Blakemore has been facing a sentence of 23 years in prison. Blakemore is accused of selling a gram of heroin to Jessica Rachels for $200, who then overdosed just hours later in the bathroom floor of a house in Red Bank. If you live in Walker County, watch out. A routine inspection of the Walker County water treatment plant resulted in positive E. coli samples. You are now being asked to boil your water if you live in Walker County and you're a customer of that service. Gas prices look good for now, but on the 1st, a new gas tax will come into effect and they'll go back up by 4 cents. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any showers will diminish through your nighttime hours. Muggy overnight again. Could see some more late fog as well. Lows of around 70. For Wednesday, a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms. Very warm and humid, highs mid and upper 80s, with more typical summer weather returning for Sunday. Are you hungry? Stop into KFC today for an extra crispy $20 fill-up. It's freshly double-breaded crunch, laughs in the face of quieter foods. That's KFC. It's finger-licking good. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
You're listening to AM 1240 at 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me here on Nooga Radio and our website, noogaradio.com, where you can stream everything live. Our Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube is where the streaming happens, but we also stream some live videos on Facebook as well, breaking down what's going on in the greater Chattanooga area for all of you. Much nicer weather today. Still be safe out there on the roads. I like talking to you. You guys are nice. So I have a couple of quotes. Because I was thinking about Dak Prescott, as I often do think about Dak Prescott. I think when I talk about players who are very interesting, one of the most interesting players that has ever lived so far has been Tim Tebow, just polarizing in every way. I think that the most interesting player in the NFL is a guy like Cam Newton. But Dak Prescott is also interesting because we're not sure what to do with him. We're not sure if he's a one-year hit wonder or not. We're not certain how high Dak's ceiling is. We don't know where to draw the line in Dak's talent. Is Dak successful or is Dak's team successful? I think it can be both. But we're still not certain. And all of these questions that you have, the more questions that you have, the more interesting somebody becomes, right? Like that's the thing with Cam Newton. The more questions you have, the more interesting he gets. Can Cam Newton really throw? Can you call what Cam Newton does quarterbacking? Can Cam Newton make it to another Super Bowl? Or have we seen the best of him? Like there are tons of questions there that make him really fascinating in a way that Tom Brady isn't. Tom Brady is not that interesting. Tom Brady is great, right? The greatest of this generation of quarterbacks, possibly greatest of all time. I will definitely go with the greatest resume of all time. But he's not that interesting. There are not that many questions about Tom Brady, right? Maybe there was at one point in his career where you're like, is he just riding the coattails of a really good defense? How good is he really? And then they went on that 18-0 run before losing in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady now has, 5 rings on 7 Super Bowl appearances, and next year is likely going to play for a 6th. There are no questions left about Tom Brady. He's great. The end. Dak Prescott has so many questions, but he explained why he thought he fell to the 4th round of last year's NFL draft. And I have to say, first off, I think Dak Prescott is a very impressive guy. He was on Rich Eisen's show on Thursday, and I think he's a very impressive guy, and he's very intelligent. And this is what he had to say on the Rich Eisen show about why he thought he fell in the draft. And he said, I think that quarterback position, it's hard to judge what's in someone's heart and in their mind. I think that there's a lot of the game, if you watch Peyton Manning, if you watch Tom Brady, and all these guys that had tons of success in the league, they've won with their mind. They've won with their knowledge of the game. I think that's something that's hard to judge. They've won by being good leaders. I think that's something that is truly hard to judge in the little time teams are given in the draft process. You can ask college coaches and college teammates and the equipment guys how a player acts, but for the most part, every guy is going to be biased. I think they were hesitant NFL coaches that as high as Mississippi State had me, those Miss State staff members were just biased rather than it's true. That's the way I am. I want to know everything I can about the game. I want to put my teammates first and push them to be better. And yeah, you hear a guy say something like that, you want to believe. The problem is, and we've had this problem for years, and this is going to sound corny. I am going to start turning into Butch Jones. But you can't open up a guy and look at his heart. You can't know whether or not that guy wants to be the leader of your locker room or if that's just lip service, right? Like if he's just saying he wants to be the leader of the locker room because that's what he's supposed to say. If he's not just saying he wants to be the best to ever play the game because that's just what he's supposed to say. And if he's not saying, yeah, I'm doing this to win championships, I'm doing this for my teammates to make everybody else better. And it's hard to decipher between the guy saying what he's supposed to say and the guy saying what he actually believes. And I don't know how you tell the difference. And NFL teams don't know either because we keep whiffing on guys. Like when a guy says they'll do anything it takes to get better, what does that mean? Because you've got guys like Robert Griffin III works incredibly hard. Okay, I have witnessed through the hours of cataloged footage of Robert Griffin III, the guy works incredibly hard. But maybe Robert Griffin III should work harder in the film room than the weight room. Like he's a gym rat. He's in the gym all the time working out. But the film room is where the weakness is, right? So, like, how do you tell? Because guys can have a good work ethic and maybe they're working harder, not smarter. And with Dak Prescott, I think you found the perfect storm of a guy who understands the game, who understood it well enough to think the Cowboys put him in a position to succeed. They didn't ask him to do everything. They surrounded him with talent. He already joined a talented team. That's not his fault. Go ahead and play what's on your schedule. Play with the teammates that you have. But there were players on that roster at quarterback that did not succeed with this same roster, with these same guys, with this same offensive line. Brandon Weeden was not capable of playing good football because Brandon Weeden isn't good at quarterback, right? Like, that's just the way that is. There is a certain level of, look, you've got to give the guy credit. Teams did not see what he was capable of. You certainly cannot look inside someone's chest and see their heart and see what they're willing to give up for the game and how much more willing they are to work for the game than another guy. You can't see that. There's no way to know. And that's every industry ever. When you go to a job interview and they ask you all of these questions and tell us a time when you had to overcome adversity at work. They're trying to get to your heart, but that question, everybody's got an answer for that question. Like, if you've ever been to a job interview everyone has an answer for that question. And it's difficult to separate the people who really want to overcome adversity at work and the people who are just saying that because, man, I need to pay my rent. Like, you've got to find a way to separate them, and you very often can't. Dak Prescott slipped into the fourth round. There's going to be more guys like that. You're trying, right? That's it. And there is some level of, to me, the conference that plays into it. Like, if you're a quarterback from the SEC, right? And I think you can be a good quarterback, and this is my personal bias, but I'm more likely to take you over a quarterback from the Pac-12. Because if you're a quarterback in the Pac-12, where are you playing? USC, UCLA, Stanford. You're in California. It's sunny. You play in warm weather. The football is not tough, right? The reputation isn't the other team is out to destroy me. In the SEC, defenses prevail. In the SEC, you're playing in the South. It's all about football. This is what matters down here. So I see a guy like Josh Dobbs, I'm like, he's going to be all right. Right? Like, maybe he's not ready to start right away, but he'll have himself a solid NFL career, right? And he'll have a few chances to be a starter in this league. For sure. Like, that's a guy that I'm like, oh, he's going to be all right. He's taken his fair share of lumps. He's taken his fair share of lumps against incredibly tough defenses. He's overcome adversity. And I think, not that you don't overcome adversity in the Pac-12, or you don't overcome adversity in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten would be the other conference where if you can be a quarterback in the Big Ten, like I want you, right? I just have a certain level of respect for people who play in the conferences where everyone knows the football is smash mouth and you're still capable of succeeding. And I think that you overlook that stuff with Dak Prescott. And it's funny because there are some 5-star quarterbacks out there. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Our phone number is 423-800-8949 here on Nooga Radio. There are some 5-star quarterbacks out there in the wind. 2018 5-star quarterback that people are talking to and talking about. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go to next. And it's funny because Matt Corral is one of those quarterbacks. He's a 2018 5-star. He recently decommitted from USC. And now he has 3 SEC schools in his sights: Alabama, Georgia, and Florida as his finalists. And he said he'll commit to one of those teams before his senior year starts. And they were talking to him at AL.com. at the opening recruiting showcase. And he said he's only interested in the SEC because the atmosphere in the conference is much different and better than anything he's seen before. He said, quote, "I felt like there's a lot of stuff out there for me," he said at the opening program in Oregon. USC being the only school I visited before I committed, I really didn't think about that until I went to another school. I wanted to see what was out there. Turns out I really liked what was in the Southeast. It's completely different than the Pac-12. That's that football atmosphere. You just have to experience it to understand what I'm trying to say. We all live here. We've experienced it, and we do know what he's trying to say. Now, for me, I am a college football fan. I've been a college football fan since 2005. I've lived in a few different states. I've lived in Maryland. I've lived in Texas. So I've lived in the ACC, and I've lived in the Big 12. In the Big 12, football is still religion. Like, football is still important in the Big 12 in a way that is very similar to here. But it's not that way in the Pac-12. It isn't. And I'll tell you why. When you live in a place that's big and you've got a ton of options, what do? Right? Like when you're in Nashville Saturday night, what do? Well, no one can really answer that question because there isn't any one thing that you do. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. Chattanooga's not big like Nashville. Chattanooga's not big like Atlanta. Saturday night, what do? Go downtown, walk the Walnut Street Bridge, go catch a movie, go get dinner at a restaurant. That's about it. Like it's a small handful of things that you can do on a Saturday night in Chattanooga. You can go see the lookouts and things like that. But like those are options in every city. But what I'm trying to say is when you live in a place where you don't have as many distractions, where you don't have a ton of other options out there, then people find strongly what's important. I mean, some of the most comfortable movie theaters I've ever been in are all here in Chattanooga, right? The Regal over by Hamilton Place is great. I've been to the movie theater in Cleveland. I mean, they've got reclining seats. The most comfortable movie theaters. Why? Because as far as entertainment goes, going to the movies is very important. We don't have all the big major distractions that a lot of larger cities have down here. So football is very important. You're not playing in a USC. USC and UCLA, they're both located in the Los Angeles area. If you don't like college football in Los Angeles, you can still watch the NBA. You've got 2 NBA teams in that city. You can go watch the NFL. You've got 2 NFL teams in that city. You can go watch the NHL. You've got the Kings. You've got a ton of options, and that's not including just generally Hollywood and the lifestyle of you got the beach. You've got all of this stuff. I mean, you're down here in the South. What do you have? Football. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because now your interests aren't divided over like 15 things. There's one thing that you've got. So you're going to do that one thing well. And if you're a quarterback, if you're somebody who loves football and you want to drink in the game, the place you want to be is in the Southeastern Conference. You want to be at an SEC school. You want to be at a Florida or a Georgia or an Alabama or a Tennessee. You want to be here because that's what matters here. It's the thing that we do, and we do it well, right? When I was trying to get into this business, the media business, I talked to a reporter who used to work for NBC Sports. He used to cover the NBA on NBC back when they used to have the NBA on NBC. And he told me that you're going to have to figure out what kind of person you want to be. Here's what he told me. He said, you're going to have to choose one of 2 paths. You need to be either the person who knows a little bit about a lot of things or a lot about one thing. And you need to figure out who you're going to be. Because you can't be in the middle on that. And I chose to be the person that knows a little bit about a lot of things, right? I'm not an expert in any area, but I can talk about everything all day. But I have friends cover Major League Baseball, and the stuff that they know, and like they're not old guys, like they're the same age as me, and the stuff that they know is alarming to me. Like there's stuff that they know about Major League Baseball that I wouldn't dream of knowing, right? Every record is something that they can name off the top of their head. They can remember games from the 70s that oh yeah, I sat down on YouTube and watched like the 1976 World Series. Why? Because they just love baseball that much. That's their area of expertise, and they will always have value covering baseball because they're experts. The South, we're experts on enjoying college football. The atmosphere has to be irresistible to you once you're down here. Especially if he went to Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. Georgia specifically is interesting to me because Georgia is a place. Like Alabama's got the success, right? Alabama's got the recent success. Even Florida's got the recent success because, Tebow and Meyer, that when they had their run, that was incredibly potent. They've had their success. Georgia hasn't really had that same level of success, hasn't competed for a national title in goodness knows how long. And yet Georgia fans, talk to Georgia fans. Georgia fans expect a title appearance every single year. It's not hope. Okay, this is different. It's not that they've given up hope. It's not hope that they have. It's an expectation. We are Georgia. We're good at football. That's it. Like, that's a fact. And so here's this young man, and he's from the West Coast and has never experienced anything like this. Like, he's never experienced anything like the passion of SEC football fans. Then you come down here, and once you realize, like, okay, once you can put behind you, yeah, there's not a ton of nightclubs out here. Sure. Your party life is not going to be strong in Tuscaloosa. Not in the same way that it would be in Los Angeles. But if football's what you like, we got football for you. We do. It's the focus. It's the focus that makes it great down here. Right? Like Knoxville's a nice city. If you go play for Tennessee, you're not going to be the life of a party. There's not going to be a million things for you to do like there is in Los Angeles. Like you go out on a night in Los Angeles, and like you can trip and stumble and find like 10 different things that you can do. But I don't know. I'm recruiting a kid to play football. I like that about him. I like that the football atmosphere is the thing that impressed him the most. Right? Like, I can see how you became a 5-star recruit. You love the game. And he's the number 2 pro style quarterback in the class of 2018. And he's leaving the state of California. And people don't do that. People usually don't leave California. Right? Like, people don't leave New York. They don't leave California. And they usually don't leave those places to come live here because the perception is that there's not as much to do here, even though I wouldn't say that that's necessarily true. I wouldn't say that there's not a lot of stuff to do here. I would say that what is here is focused. Right? When Southerners get together to cook food, it's focused. When Southerners get together to watch football, it's focused. You're not distracted by 100 other things. And anybody who loves the sport that moves here, like I did, you can feel it. You can understand it. That's why I like living here. I mean, it honestly is. I've never enjoyed college football more than when I've lived here. The atmosphere of football is something else. And living in Texas, I lived an hour away from the University of Texas. Everything is the University of Texas. I live in Chattanooga, and I meet Tennessee fans and Georgia fans and Alabama fans and Auburn fans. And there's just something special about that. To have the melting pot of everybody focused on one thing. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Two Saudi Daisy parents, Dustin and Stacy Talent, who are facing charges of child neglect, are now facing even more charges of aggravated animal cruelty. Saudi Daisy police reported in an affidavit that the house was full of clutter, human and animal waste, and even dead animals. The police affidavit also stated that the children were said to have been scratching at the walls and smearing waste on the walls. Those two children have been seized from their parents. Chattanooga heroin peddler Jarius Jermaine Blakemore has been facing a sentence of 23 years in prison. Blakemore is accused of selling a gram of heroin to Jessica Rachels for $200, who then overdosed just hours later in the bathroom floor of a house in Red Bank. If you live in Walker County, watch out. A routine inspection of the Walker County water treatment plant resulted in positive E. coli samples. You are now being asked to boil your water if you live in Walker County and you're a customer of that service. Gas prices look good for now, but on the 1st, a new gas tax will come into effect and they'll go back up by 4 cents. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any showers will diminish through your nighttime hours. Muggy overnight again. Could see some more late fog as well. Lows of around 70. For Wednesday, a few windy scare, mainly afternoon showers and storms. Very warm and humid, highs mid and upper 80s, with more typical summer weather returning for Sunday. Are you hungry? Stop into KFC today for an extra crispy $20 fill-up. It's freshly double-breaded crunch, laughs in the face of quieter foods. That's KFC. It's finger-licking good. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation, and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream, home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area, Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge amount of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Watch with Keon Rose. I have a new favorite person. I have a new favorite person on this earth. It's Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is my new favorite person. First off, there's a hashtag on Twitter. It's hashtag China Klay. And all it is chronicling the adventures of Klay Thompson in China. Klay Thompson is with the shoe company Anta, which is a Chinese shoe company, which is an interesting choice. And so he's been over in China promoting the shoe, having a ton of adventures. Like every day, there's a new thing with Klay Thompson and this promotional tour, right? So Klay Thompson's with the shoe company Anta, which I think is a very smart choice to go that way. This is just good business sense, right? Because the American shoe market is overloaded. You have a lot of players who want signature shoes. They want their own design and all this stuff. And look, I'd love it if everybody got their own shoe that was a star. Right? Like for me, there is no downside when everybody makes money. But there ain't but so many shoes to go around, man. And yeah, if you're not one of the super duper stars, because you can be a star in this league and not be like a super duper star, which to be a super duper star, people have to turn on TV and like turn on the TV to watch you. There's a handful of those guys. LeBron, Steph and Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Them's be the guys. Kyrie's probably the other one. Those are the guys, really. Like, who else are you tuning on the TV to, like, really just watch? Those are the guys. Like, it's like 6 guys. So all these guys want signature shoe deals. A bunch of them are with Jordan. A bunch of them are with Nike overall. A bunch of them are with Adidas, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of room there, right? Like James Harden and Damian Lillard have the Adidas stuff kind of locked up. Kevin Durant's the Nike guy. Kevin Durant, LeBron are the Nike guy. And then Russell Westbrook and who else is a Jordan guy? Russell Westbrook's a Jordan guy. Kawhi Leonard is the other Jordan guy. So yeah, it's a handful of guys. Klay Thompson wants his own signature shoe. He signs with the Chinese shoe company Anta, and then you're not in a market that's overloaded. He said, and I quote, "I want to be the Michael Jordan of Anta," which to me, that yeah, you are the first big star that they have. And Klay Thompson is a big enough star to move some amount of that shoe. So he's over in China promoting the shoe. And Klay Thompson started off this promotional tour with a failed 360-degree dunk in which he slaps the ball into the rim and then drops to the ground like he's dead. And there's a level of humor to how he goes about doing things that I think makes it cool even when Klay's not cool. And I am a big fan of that, right? Because I think we live in a generation where people tell you, yeah, no, don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Don't think about what everyone else is saying about you. Don't care what everybody else thinks. And I think that that's silly. You have to care what other people think. Care what other people think on some level, right? Don't completely base your life around what other people think, but you do live in a world with other human beings, right? You care about what other people think. Don't be ridiculous. But there is a way to go on living even when you fail, even when things look bad, even when you make yourself look bad. There's a way to be cool even when you're not cool, which is something that the coolest people know. And Klay Thompson has figured this out because there's an alarming amount of embarrassing things that would be embarrassing to a lot of other people, but are not embarrassing to him because he is not allowing it to be embarrassing to him. So he had that. He went to an electronic dance club later that day or the next day. It's hard to tell in the Twitter timeline. And he's dancing in the club like nobody's watching, which is to say terribly. He's dancing awfully. It looks bad. And, everyone on the internet's making fun of him. 2 days later, he's out there dancing again. And then he was dancing with some Chinese pop stars with the basketball, with this weird dance that they were doing. And all of this is so weird to me. Like, it's just bizarre. He was arm wrestling a Chinese fan, and then she reaches across the table and tickles him, so then he loses and falls out of the chair in a similar fashion to when he fell down dunking. And there's just this way that he is, that none of it sticks. None of this stuff has to stick if you do not allow it to. You can let stuff roll off your back. You don't have to be embarrassed by everything, right? Like LeBron James, for years, his hairline was a problem. LeBron was hiding his hairline the entire time until one day LeBron decided not to hide his hairline, and we didn't have the LeBron hairline conversations as much. It wasn't that you had a receding hairline. It's that you thought you had to hide it, and that you hid it for years, and badly, I might add. Let stuff roll off your back. You'll be a whole lot happier. That's why Klay Thompson's my new favorite person. This China Klay thing is funny. I mean, it's good stuff. He just seems like a cool dude. Right? Like, maybe I'm just reading a little bit too much into it, but he seems like a cool dude. Also, there's a report, breaking story here, NBA story. Ricky Rubio has been traded to the Utah Jazz for their first round pick, which I think is a good trade. You've got enough playmakers there. If you're Minnesota, you can move Rubio. And if you're Utah, you get a point guard now. And Rubio had a really good season last season. Not a really good season, but a good season. Solid basketball season. And he's only 26 years old, which is unbelievable. Because I feel like Ricky Rubio has been in the league for 10 years. And he's 26. And actually, Ricky Rubio has almost been in the league for 10 years. Ricky Rubio has been in the league for 7 years. When you think about that, Ricky Rubio has been in the league for 7-8 years now. He's only 26 years old, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Also, and here's why I know I hate social media. LeBron James is tweeting things again, right? Like, LeBron goes silent during the playoffs on Twitter. He gets off of Twitter, gets off of social media. I think that's smart. I think more people should do that, but like, we don't have in our lives a time of the year that is obviously more important than other time of the year, right? So like the NBA player or an NFL player, you have the year and then you have the playoffs, right? We don't necessarily have that in real life, our own version of the playoffs. But I think people should find some time to just close up all your social media accounts, right? We'll forgive you. When you come back, check us out on Nooga Radio. But close up all your social media accounts and just take some time away from social media. I promise you'll feel better in your life. But LeBron's back. And LeBron is known for just tweeting vague stuff. Like, just vague. And we know what he's talking about, but he's vague and he's passive aggressive. And to me, this is why I hate social media, because you are forced to be in a position, and especially when you have to like gather news via social media. That's when social media is at its absolute worst. When it's at its most worthless is when you have to gather news from social media. And you're in this position now where you want to get a story out of LeBron James. You know you can't just call up LeBron and ask for a story. He ain't giving you one. LeBron James didn't tell anybody he was leaving Cleveland for Miami until the day he left Cleveland for Miami. And he didn't tell anybody he left Miami to go back to Cleveland until the day that he left Miami to go back to Cleveland. And so you're not getting a story out of that guy. He's Fort Knox when it comes to keeping his opinions to himself. Like, everybody knows Paul George wants to go to LA. We don't know where LeBron wants to go. Everything involving LeBron is wild, aimless speculation, which means now you have to go to social media to try and get a story out of the guy. And here's the problem with going to social media to try and get a story out of LeBron James. He's vague. He tweets cryptically. He doesn't explain anything. Like when Kevin Love first got to Cleveland, there was a point at which Kevin Love was trying to find his way, to be a piece on that team. And LeBron James tweeted to nobody in particular, though obviously at Kevin Love, don't fit out, fit in, which would be a corny Butch Jones thing to say, except it's not, it's so passive aggressive. Like, we know who it is that you're talking about, but when we ask you about it, you're going to act like you have no idea who it is that we're talking about. And now he's tweeted again, and his tweet is, no one wins when the family feuds, which, again, we know who you're talking about. We know you're talking about Dan Gilbert. We know you're talking about Dan Gilbert trying to trade Kyrie Irving to get some kind of piece to help the Cavaliers, even though trading Kyrie Irving is not going to help the Cavaliers, right? Like, we know this. But he's LeBron, so he can't be clear and straightforward about anything. Not at all. It's like he's contractually obligated to be as vague as humanly possible, because it's the thing that Phil Jackson used to do. Phil Jackson used to go to the media and lambast his players. In fact, he did it as the Knicks GM, and it blew up in his face because you can't do that kind of stuff anymore. It's the kind of thing that Phil Jackson used to do, but the twist is, I'm not going to name names. I'm just going to name situations, and then everybody else go and infer those names. Right? So he winds up getting on everybody's nerves, but he doesn't wind up specifically insulting anybody. It's a beautiful thing, LeBron James' passive aggressiveness. He has perfected this thing down to a science. I just hate that we now have to go there and we have to interpret it, and it feels like very Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're trying to figure out how does this work? What does he mean by this? Right? I hate that that's where we've gone. And this is where we've gone, because this is how our president works. Like, this is how our news media attempts to gather news from our president. He tweets things, and then we're just like, what did he mean by that? Even a typo becomes a news story. But what did he mean by Kafifi? It's a typo. It doesn't mean anything. Became a news story. Right? Like, we are legitimately turning to social media to help us break stories. And there's something that does feel inherently lazy about it, but there's also something that's very uninformative. And it's interesting to me, because yesterday, was it yesterday? Either yesterday or 2 days ago, was the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone. When the iPhone showed up on the scene, it changed everything. And then when you saw the iPhone, when you originally looked at the iPhone, you knew it was going to change everything. And the iPhone now is different from smartphones today. It had apps, but you couldn't download the apps. There was no app store. You had the apps that they gave you. It had a distinct lack of games. It didn't have stuff. And I remember my friend got one of the first iPhones. We thought it was the coolest thing ever. And the first iPhone wouldn't hold up to any phone you have now at all. Right? Like the iPhone changed the game. The way you touch your screen, the way you interact with screens now will forever be different because of the iPhone. And that's changed our society, right? Like because you can access social media all the time, anytime, social media has become largely important and huge. My thing with this is, where does that leave us? When we're digging around through cryptic LeBron James tweets to find out what's happening with Cleveland, instead of making phone calls to people and trying to figure it out over the phone, which I'm sure there are people who are doing that as well. But the story that's getting reported is not, well, we're trying to figure this out, but here's what we know so far. The story is, here's LeBron's tweet. No one wins when the family feuds. How are we breaking this down? I'll tell you. Family Feud is a new track on the recently released Jay-Z album, 444. So LeBron is referencing a rap album, and we're trying to figure this stuff out, and I hope that this means nothing. I hope this means absolutely nothing. That LeBron just knows that it's going to make everybody scurry to talk about him when he releases stuff like this. Like, I hope LeBron just tweets and just my nose itches and then just leave that as it is and let everybody run around and figure, what does he mean by his nose itches? I hope that this tweet has absolutely zero meaning. It seems related to the whole Dan Gilbert, Cleveland needs to retool situation, but why must we now, I have to go download the Jay-Z album and listen to the song Family Feud to understand what it is that LeBron's saying about his situation? It's gone too far. Social media has gone way too far. Right? Like, I don't update my own Facebook page. I am on Twitter decently. I pretty much just read on Twitter. I'm trying not to be as deep into social media because I don't think it's great for people. I don't. I think it separates us from each other, and I don't necessarily believe that we are the better for what it is that we're doing. Like, everything has to be social media. I am not necessarily like as big a fan of like my family on social media. When I see things that people post and I'm like, I want to argue with you here because you are wrong, but we're still in a public setting, so I can't really argue with you, my family, on Facebook. Have you seen that? People arguing with their family members on Facebook? Is that not the most awkward thing ever? We've taken this thing a step too far. I think social media is great. I think it's great for helping us connect with one another. But don't mistake social media with actual human connection, which we have obviously done. We are mistaking a LeBron James tweet for actual information. Maybe he just really likes the song. Is that not possible? Maybe he just really likes that song. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So the Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals, and their head coach and many of their players have been very critical of Donald Trump and his presidency. And oops, the one thing that you do when you win championships is you go to the White House and meet the president. And so Steve Kerr was asked whether or not he would go to the White House. And we've seen players not go to the White House when they don't like the president. Brady didn't want to be in any controversy with Trump, so he didn't go. Brady was not a fan of Obama, so he didn't go. Right? Like you've got players that yeah, if you don't like the president, you don't go. We've never had a coach not go. And so Steve Kerr was talking about the idea of going to the White House in order to respect the office. Now, if there's anything that we know about Donald Trump, it's at least Donald Trump doesn't have a problem with talking to you. Like, he doesn't have a problem with meeting you. Like, he might be really awkward and weird around you. You know, he might maybe even tweet some stuff about you later. But in terms of just having the interaction, I don't think that he's had a problem with that. And here's the thing. If you're Steve Kerr and you've got problems with Donald Trump, I mean, you could at least go to the White House, have the opportunity to be in the same room with the guy, and maybe even voice some of those concerns. And, you know, maybe that doesn't mean anything, right? It probably doesn't do anything at all. But saying I went to the White House and I talked to him, I think does a whole lot more than I'm not supportive of him and his entire presidency, so I simply did not go. And yes, it would have more weight if a coach didn't go, because we've never had a coach not go, right? We've had players miss for all kinds of reasons, personal reasons, or they just didn't like the president. We've never had a coach not go, to my knowledge. I think Steve Kerr ought to go. And I maybe not even respect for the office, but for what symbolically that would mean if you went and spoke your mind, as opposed to simply not going at all, as opposed to taking your ball and going home. I think the greater impact of that socially would be greater. Lunch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, my friends, and I'll see you next week.